You know, in any legal dispute, what's the one thing that stops everything from just becoming a messy he said, she said argument? Well, today we're going to dig into a small but really powerful piece of strata law that gives us the answer. And trust me, its impact is huge. Let's get into it.
Just think about that for a second. When two sides just can't agree and emotions are running high, what anchors the whole thing in reality? How does the tribunal actually make a decision based on the truth, and not just on who happens to tell the most convincing story? The answer? Well, it's way more fundamental than you might think.
That's it. Simple as that. The written record. It is the official story, the single source of truth that just cuts right through all the noise. It's not about who has the better memory or who's more persuasive. It's about what was written down. And in strata law, there's a very specific rule that makes this whole thing possible.
So we are going to get up close and personal with Regulation 53 of the Strata Management Tribunal regulations from back in 2015. Now, I know that sounds super technical and maybe a little dry, but I promise you getting this is absolutely key to understanding how justice actually works in these cases.
So here it is, in all its glory, Regulation 53. It's just two little parts, but every single word in there has a specific job to do. So what we're going to do now is take this apart piece by piece to see exactly how it builds the foundation for a fair and transparent process.
All right, let's start with part one. This first sentence, this is the core command. It's the mandate that sets everything else in motion. It tells us exactly who is responsible and what they are required to do.
You see how simple and direct that language is? There's no room for interpretation, right? It's a crystal clear command. So let's break down the key terms here to see just how precise this instruction really is.
First up, the secretary. Now, this isn't just any old administrator or clerk. This is a specific designated official. The law puts all of this responsibility squarely on one person's shoulders. And that's smart, because it prevents any confusion about who owns this critical task. They are the official guardian of the record.
And this brings us to a really crucial word here. The regulation uses the word shall. Now, in legal speak, shall is a command. It means this is not optional. That's not something you do if you have time. It is a mandatory, non-negotiable duty. The record must be kept, period.
So what exactly gets recorded? All proceedings. And that means everything. Every single filing, every piece of evidence submitted, every little ruling, and of course, every final decision. The law demands a complete history with zero gaps, making sure nothing gets lost or, conveniently forgotten.
Okay, so we know who keeps the record and what they have to record. But what about how they do it? Well, the second part of the regulation gets right into that. It specifies the exact method, which is just as important for keeping everything in order.
The method is actually beautifully simple. They do it by making entries in the respective case file. This one little line prevents records from being scattered across random notebooks, different hard drives, or a bunch of sticky notes. It forces a single centralized location for the official story of the case.
The process it creates is so simple and so powerful, right? Something happens in the case, could be a hearing, a submission, a decision. The secretary then makes an official entry about it, and boom, that entry becomes a permanent, unchangeable part of that case file. It's just a clear, logical, and secure flow of information.
So why is this specific method so darn important? Well, just look at the contrast. Without a rule like this, you'd have total chaos. You'd have disorganized notes, unreliable memories, stuff that could get lost or even manipulated. But with the official case file system, you get order, a centralized, permanent, single source of truth that everybody can rely on.
So we've covered the who, the what, and the how. But now let's put it all together and talk about the why. Why does this one little regulation have such a massive impact on anyone who might find themselves in a strata dispute?
It's because the written record is literally the foundation for a just outcome. It guarantees fairness because everyone is working from the exact same set of facts. It creates transparency because the whole process is documented and open for review. It provides accountability. Let's say you need to appeal a decision. Well, this record is the entire basis for that appeal. And at the end of the day, this careful, detailed record keeping is what builds our trust in the system itself.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. Regulation 53 is just two simple sentences. But packed inside those few words is this powerful commitment to order, to transparency, and to accountability.
It's just a perfect example of how these small procedural rules end up being the very bedrock of a fair and reliable justice system.
So, the next time you hear about a legal case, I want you to remember that quiet, powerful force working just beneath the surface, the written record. It's a story that's being meticulously built, one entry at a time, and it's dedicated to one thing: finding the truth. It's that simple mechanism that proves our commitment to justice for everyone.